Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Namaste.
Namaste.
Always awesome to be here with you. Our
Yes.
weekly fun time.
Can you believe March is almost over?
March has marched. It is freaking the 31st. Whew.
Yeah.
Spring has sprung and the clock has lost its mind. The March I'm thinking the March hare, right? The crazy people. So
Yeah.
everyone's crazy. They'll like you here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Woo!
yeah. Oh, the Tea Party. Every sense of the
Hmm.
word. Hmm.
There are so many layers to the term Tea Party. It's hard to break them down.
Yes, it is. It's all good fun. It's all good fun. So,
Yeah.
welcome everyone. We're gonna talk a little bit here and let guests come online and say a few opening words, such as "Welcome to Eyes of Indigo." I'm Margo Ross Sears. This is Iris. This is Iris Carter, and we co-host the show discussing weird things in a rational way. And hi, Deborah. We can see
Hey.
you coming to us from YouTube. Yay! So
Oh,
glad to see you. Extra
eggs.
special. Oh, that could have been a theme too. Absolutely, absolutely. Easter is a time of new beginnings, and yo, boy, that's what's going to be rolling out now. So all
And
kinds
that's
of good
something we
stuff.
should mention. Well, because we talked about at Christmas time, we talked about how the pagans contributed a lot to the Christian rituals, and no, bunny
Yes,
rabbits and eggs have nothing to do with Jesus dying on the cross.
those are strictly springtime pagan-based rituals and symbols.
Celebrating the new life, and
Ashtar,
yeah, yeah.
Ashtar, which became the word Easter, and
Ah, I
celebrating.
did not
Uh
know
huh.
that.
Ishtar is another variation.
Okay,
Ishtar. Ishtar became the word Easter eventually.
that makes sense. I did not
We could
know
do a
that.
we could do a whole we should have thought of that. We could do a whole show on that, but you got to do the research behind it.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm talking about that, folks, is because, as you might have expected, we were going to have a guest speaker that was a rollover from last week because of tech problems. That show got stopped. But this week, our speaker, Paul from Ireland, called in sick. He was not. Yeah, he was not in the frame of mind to be talking on live on television, or sorry, podcast with us. And we totally understand that. We send Paul all kinds of good love and energy for his healing. And he says he looks forward to doing that broadcast with us in the future.
We're going to
So
reschedule with him, and I'm going to give him a few days to get back on his feet, and then we'll reschedule. So I don't know exactly when it'll be. It could be next week, but I'm not going to push it. And
you'll
so we'll
know.
keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, yeah, we've
Absolutely.
got
We
some other chat coming up.
we came up with some other content that we thought was just thoroughly fascinating.
We hope.
And
We hope you'll
we
think the same.
it, yes, absolutely. And so we want to say thank you and welcome to all of our regular listeners that are joining us or will join us soon in the chat. And we also want to say welcome to all the newcomers to the podcast. We're glad you're here. What we do is in short, Iris and I have discussions about weird things in a rational way. And we think they're rational anyway.
Yeah.
That's subjective. And we enjoy when people make comments in the chat, either on YouTube or in the comments on Facebook. Your questions or your comments or just say hi. Let us know you're out there. We don't know you're there unless you make a comment and say hello. And you are welcome to ask questions or add to what we're talking about the whole time we're talking. And we encourage that. We enjoy that. So please feel free to join the conversation.
Definitely.
And
We want to know you're there. So
we
do let
do.
us do let us know, because we can't tell for sure. We can tell whether you're watching from Facebook or YouTube based on your
But that's it.
comments. But that's the only thing. We can't tell the actual numbers until after all said and done, and then it gets wonky. So
Yeah, tech, right? It's all
yeah.
over the place nowadays. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let us know. Say hello.
Absolutely. And so Easter holiday is coming by. That's cool. New beginnings. But Iris and I decided to talk about old beginnings, just to tie that in. Yeah. And what was the title of tonight's topic that you came up with?
Putting things in God's hands.
Run that on a banner. Let that just roll.
I do
Let that
need
roll
to do
by while
that.
we're talking. Yeah, let
Yeah.
people see that while we're talking.
Okay.
Putting things in God's hands. And Iris debated the word things because among us classically trained English professors, the word things is a no-no because it's too vague. Hey, JJL. Good to see you. Howdy. The word thing is usually too vague. However, there's always exceptions. And tonight, the word thing is a part of the invitation for listeners to join us and find out what particular things are they referring to on such a profound level. And for those of you that are popping in the midst of this, that is our theme for tonight, putting things in God's hands. If you missed it, our guest speaker, the Irishman Paul, had called in sick, so we're going to reschedule him in the future. So,
and that's another reason to follow us on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, you're on our channel. So I post usually a few days before the show. I'll have the stream coming up that's going to show what's showing on Wednesday. But otherwise, if you follow us on Facebook, we're facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo.
where else can they find back recordings?
Spotify and iTunes, and of course, then the recordings, the visual recordings, are on YouTube and Facebook. And you can also go to my website, iriscarter.com, and there is a link to our podcasts. I am behind again. I got caught up and then I got behind again, but I've had a couple other projects I've been juggling, and I just haven't had time to sit down and get the audio pulled, because I do have to like cut off the ends and add information.
Cut and trim.
Yeah.
A lot of cutting and trimming and listening. It takes time.
Yeah, and then I try to write something to go with it, and so that takes time too. But
you've got some huge projects on your plate, plus you've got family and grandchildren and the holidays happening and birthdays. You got a lot going on. In the future, we'll tell you about some of Iris's future projects.
Yes, yes.
I've got projects too, but same thing. In the future, we will talk about those that are kind of related in some ways.
Yeah.
So we'll drop that as we go. Yeah. So if you're joining us after the start time, please feel free to say hello in the comment section. And as we talk, feel free to chime in with questions, with comments, with rolling your eyes, with laughing, whatever you want to do. Feel free to chat with us in the chat rooms, either on Facebook or on YouTube in the comments. And we'll see it there. What we've seen is there's a little bit of a delay, like about half a minute before we see what you wrote. So have fun with that, but give us a grace of 30 seconds. Just for human. Absolutely. If you're new to our show and you want to know more about who are these ladies? What is their background? Where are they coming from on this?
We're just making shit up as we go.
And we do honor swearing, damn it.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hoorah. And that's, we like to be genuine, and enthusiasm counts. All right. And that includes swearing. There you go.
We have bells. We're going to use them.
I need more cowbell.
Yeah. Darn,
And
so
we
I gotta get that other one I got.
We do quote movies and songs. And
I'll quote anything.
if it fits, I sits. Pun and a pun, gotcha. So feel free to laugh along with us and don't worry about our word choice per se. It's the energy of what we're trying to get across. And
Feel
honestly,
the love.
the theme, love and joy. Love and joy. We're trying to grow and celebrate and share that with you guys and have some fun with it along the way. And sometimes that involves swearing. Someday, I should have brought my coffee cup that Iris gave me
You
last week.
should have. Oh my gosh.
Let's see if I might be able to paraphrase it. It says, I don't spew profanities. I enunciate them like a fucking lady. It's a coffee cup.
I had so much fun picking that out.
I bet you did. Interestingly, about 4 or 5 days later, I'm in the middle of teaching an intuitive development class. Hi, ladies, if any of you are watching tonight or later in a recording. And we were reading tea leaves that night. So I brought my own cup and they loved it.
Oh my gosh.
And I used it, baby. It was awesome.
Awesome.
They loved it. They passed it around and died laughing. It was really cute.
That's funny.
And we had some really cool readings. Some really beautiful stuff came through.
I've never done tea leaves. I've always been curious. I've sort of got the idea behind it, and I know there's different symbols and stuff you can see, but
and they're fairly universal. It's not as hard as it's made out to be. Once you're an intuitive person that has some awareness of symbolism and animal spirituality and sacred geometry and correlations and cool stuff like that. But yeah, it was fun. We had a little miniature tea party going on. We had tarot cards going too. We were totally witching out. It was awesome.
Oh wow.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So if you don't mind, we'll shift gears.
Yes.
And let's talk about tonight's show and start off. So putting things in the hands of God.
Excuse me?
Tonight we're going to start off with basically almost mutually interviewing each other about what was Iris's journey and what was Margo's journey to a pivotal moment in each of our lives. And the pivotal moment that we each chose was our personal experiences one-on-one with the divine. In Iris's case, she understood she was in the presence of God. In my case, I understood I was in the presence of Jesus, who was channeling God, of course. So we're going to start with me asking Iris questions and let her tell the story, because that's one of the millions of things that Iris is good at, wonderful at, is her storyteller abilities. So
now if I don't flub it up. You set me up.
You told me a few things. Now, you told me a few things, and when you talk off the top of your head, it's really awesome and very genuine, and you're much more what's the word, eloquent than you think.
Oh, thank you.
You're much more eloquent than you think. And you're charming, and you say funny things, and you laugh at your own little funnies, and that's it's because you're engaged with the energy of what you're saying. So it's awesome.
That is so sweet.
You're welcome. And you're setting a great example for anybody who's listening, who'd like to get the nuances of them too being a better and better public speaker. So you're setting an example. And awesome. That's awesome. It's awesome. And you have a speaking style that's different from mine. And so, yeah.
And that's good.
Yeah. It works. It makes it 360 for everybody. So starting off, I mentioned what the goal is. Your experience when you actually were in the presence of God. But the question is, what were what was the sequence of life events for you that led you up to that particular moment, that particular event? And I realize I may be asking you to recount something that covers years of time. I also think that you have the facility to narrow it down to when there's a fork in the road. Robert Frost, you have to take the path less, the road less traveled. And that's at that split when you knew you were going to go down that, or even what led you up to it that day. What events led up to that day?
Let me see if I can address this. Okay.
What was the cause for the occasion to actually channel and be out there with God?
Well, I know I've talked before about, when I was 3 and had the incident where I saw angels. So that stuck with me. Although maybe the story didn't stick with me through time. Like when I was 8 years old, I wasn't going back and thinking about that. But I was constantly aware. I would remember it every so often,
Right.
and it was like I always knew I had somebody to talk to, I guess, in a way. I knew there was something greater than me. Okay. So I didn't have any questions about is God real or not. It was just questions about how does this work? What, and doing all that. The biggest, one of the, well, yeah. Okay. So I guess I had
This is
ups
a
and
lot.
downs.
This is a lot. This is a big question. This is a lot to get you to ask you to formulate into a simple
Yeah.
conversation.
And
I mean,
it's like,
it's
I
worth it
was,
to mention that. Yeah.
I was probably about 13 or 14, and I was spending a lot of time at home alone. My dad was a workaholic, and my mother was doing everything she could to make him happy and keep him from being so stressed. And so she would often go to his work. She worked there kind of part-time,
Retail establishment.
retail
Right.
establishment, and she would go and help out when he was stressed or somebody was out or whatever. So she was gone a lot. And this was before my dad had his first heart attack when he was
Ooh,
45.
he was under a
So
lot of stress. Yeah.
yeah. And so this was before that. This was a year or two before that. And I can't remember the details, and the details aren't important about why I was feeling so bad, but I felt horrible. I know there was some stress at school, some stress with some friendships. I felt lonely. It was one of those dreary winter days.
Okay.
And I was in my bedroom window. I had 2 windows, but one of them looked out over the front yard and into the neighborhood. It was really a gorgeous view. But I remember sitting in front of my window and just asking, what what is it all about? Why am I here? What am I doing here? And why, because I was so miserable. And I was thinking in my head, wonder what kind of drugs mom and dad have that I could OD on. Wonder can you OD on aspirin? And I was thinking these things. And I
These are
knew, and I,
teenager profound thoughts. Yeah.
yeah.
They
And I'm
they
like,
do that. They do that.
I can't cut my wrist because that's just do. And plus
Too messy.
yeah, I'm a piano player, and it's like, no, don't cut my wrist out. And anything else I thought of, it was going to be pills. It was going to be anything. And I was thinking, I just can't go on like this. I can't. I'm not meant to be here. I don't feel right. I don't understand. I'm miserable. Nobody loves me. I'm
Right.
alone. Yeah, I mean, it was just so heavy. And I cried and cried, and I sat at the window, And I'm looking out, and like I said, nobody was out, so that made me feel even more alone because the neighborhood was just dead still. And all of a sudden, I could just hear this voice, and it was like it was like in my head. It wasn't like an external voice, but it
Yeah.
wasn't my voice.
Right.
And it was a discussion. We had a discussion, and it was like, that there's stuff coming ahead, and you'll get through this, and that you are loved, and I'm with you, and you're going to be fine, and you need to keep going, and this is beyond you. This isn't you. This is beyond you. I mean, I remember those words,
Wow.
and just you know kind of like, take a deep breath. You're going to be fine, and you're not going to do anything to hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And I cried some more, and yeah, I still get it.
The
And
glint.
yeah, and I, I embraced it, and I felt so much love at that moment, and it was overwhelming. Yeah, and so I just kind of chilled the fuck out.
Plain and simple. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
and it
I hear you
carried me
saying
through.
you got the reassurance that that you deeply, desperately needed.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
knew it was beyond me, and I knew it was God. I had no doubt.
What did it feel like, maybe physically, emotionally, in those several seconds or however long it was that you were in the presence of God? Can you describe to us viscerally or with adjectives or something what that experience being in the presence of that omnipotent magnitude of,
It was it
you
was
said love, but
like
what did it feel like? As close as you can, of course.
okay, in one moment I was sitting and very aware of being at the window, feeling the room around me, and in the next moment I felt like I was in my own private space. It was like free floating.
Could you
And
did it look different? Maybe mentally or psychically or even literally.
it
You
was
said your own
it was
space. What did
light.
that
It
space?
was just more like light. Not
Yeah,
it wasn't
yeah.
bright light, it was just warmth and
Oh, yeah.
and feeling and not really seeing anything, but just it wasn't dark space, it was light space,
Yeah.
and just being aware of this voice right in my ear, and
Oh,
you know
so it was one ear over the other, or
yeah,
why do you say ear? That's
because that's
interesting.
what it felt like. It felt like, you know and I don't know if it was because of the way I was sitting, or but it to me, or maybe it was because of right brain, left brain. I don't know, but it was like somebody talking to me, but yet I wasn't hearing it literally. I was hearing it in my head, like when you think about having a
Mhm,
conversation with somebody.
mhm,
So some
mhm,
people would say, oh well, you were just imagining a conversation. No,
mm-mm.
I wasn't making
It
up the
sounds
other words. But and it
how
wasn't my voice.
how how were you sitting? Where were you sitting in the room? Let us have a visual of the space,
In the
please.
space that I was in,
Yes,
it
yes,
was
please.
just I was I wasn't in any space. I was in a neutral zone, if
Okay,
that
that's
makes
cool.
sense.
Yes, it is. Physically, where was your body? Were you sitting on a bed, in a chair,
Um,
by the window, on the floor?
I was sitting on the floor by the window, and there was a cabinet or something, or a table. I was kind of leaned up against it, but looking out the window, and kind of leaned on the furniture, but I was sitting on the floor and looking out. Yeah.
Here's a question that might sound left field, but do you remember what was the last thing you ate or drank, or probably ate or drank before that happened that day?
I I was not into drugs or anything like that.
Me too.
Okay. I had the occasional smoking pot with friends or something. Very rare that I even did
At that
that.
age, yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't interested in drinking. Um, I probably had gotten some tea when I came in, and that was, I hadn't
House
eaten
wine
dinner
of the
yet.
South, right?
Yeah, the
House
house
wine of
wine.
the South. Sweet tea.
And yeah, and I might have gotten a snack of some sort, but I really probably not much of anything. Probably kind of like lunch at school or something, and then came home and was just latchkey
So this
kid.
so this was a school day.
Hmm.
Excuse me. My nose, some of y'all know this about me. Iris, you may or may not remember, but my nose goes off when high truth is being said.
Oh,
Yeah. It'll start itching and then it'll start burning. And eventually I'll sneeze. But the further you talk, the more I'm messing with my nose. And I apologize,
that's all right.
but I'm trying to control the tingly. And what it is you're setting off my 7, my 6. So my sinuses are vibrating, which is making my nose tickle. And that's a good thing. But because that only happens around high truth,
That's amazing.
high divine truth. Yeah, it's crazy, but it helps. So
It's a barometer.
it is. It kind of is. Yeah, you get an atmospheric thing going
Yeah.
there. So once you had this, I'm curious, this conversation with God that you had, um, about how long did that exchange probably take, and how long did it feel like to you?
It probably took a minute,
Wow.
but it felt like 30 minutes, like if you were sitting and talking with a friend and being, somebody reassuring you, but it was just boom, boom, not that I was really paying attention to the clock, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, looking back and speculating, sure, sure. From looking back, how long did that feeling stay with you? A few hours, couple of days, several minutes?
It's still with me.
That's not what I expected. Yay! Woohoo! Yes. And
And
that is your evidence right there of where that let's just say it, where that shit came from. Yeah. Throw up a cartoon there, Iris.
oh, let's see, what have I got? Let's see. I don't know if I
About
have.
truth and about doing it right. We picked out several memes.
Those
Those
who,
who
yeah, go ahead.
Yes, those who leave everything in God's hands will eventually see God's hands in everything. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
That is, yeah, and you're saying that's where you ended up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Pretty
That's
much.
that's wonderful. So, did you know? I'm thinking in terms of in that moment while God was talking to you, and you say you were roughly what, 14, 15,
Yeah, 13, 14, around
50,
14.
early teens.
Hmm.
In that moment, or was it later that you realized that you were that you were conversing with God?
I knew in that moment. I
Did you?
knew in that moment.
What 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 clicked? Or it was just a knowing, or what was it? How did you know? There it goes again.
I think I think it was because
What was your evidence? Because I know you're an evidentiary person.
it was the thing of, I told you I'd always be with you.
Ah,
And
a
that
con-
was from back when I was 3 years old.
The context of the conversation.
But I knew that it was not just, in the first instance, it was my angels. And in this instance, I knew that this was higher.
Coming down from the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're
Would
not
you
going to send
dare
any emissaries. We're going over the big guy.
Okay, which leads me to my next question. Dare say, would you speculate that this may have been part of your influence for why you pursued theta healing? Based on some of the principles that say you bypass the messenger and talk straight to the source?
I think that's some of the reasons why I bought into theta healing. It
Yeah.
wasn't that I pursued theta healing because of that. It was
Right.
I started learning theta healing and I found out what they were doing. I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm in. Because it was
You already understood that concept.
Yeah.
Because of moments like that.
Not that I don't appreciate the middlemen and the other people that help or beings
There's a
or
time and
whatever.
a place for everything.
Yeah. But I've always been one, I don't never like going through hierarchy. I'm just like, just give me the top person that's gonna give me an answer.
If you ain't with me, you're against me. Get out of the way. Here's to all the non-standard women in the world. Hoorah! Put on shoes, girls. There's going to be a lot of glass falling down.
And it was interesting because about 20 years later, give or take a few years, I was going through a lot where I was going through I was taking 16 hours of school, working 40 hours a week, and the kids were small. My husband had just moved out. I had, my dad had gone through brain surgery. I'd had a wreck and totaled my car, and it was just one thing after another. And then during that time, I had the minister of our church trying to have an affair with me, and yeah, I mean, it drag it on and on and on, and yeah, and I had a breakdown. I was like, I can remember, I don't remember if I just gotten off the phone with somebody, but I remember just sobbing and crying and again going, I've had enough. I have had enough. Yeah.
Right, and it was here, no further.
And it was also the time when I had that epiphany. I had been putting a smile on and going, well, what else could go wrong? It can't get any worse. I mean, what else happened? Everything that I would, oh, well, that's all right. I can handle this because, I mean, after all, what else can go wrong? And I said it like 3 or 4 times. And I remember sobbing. I mean, I was a puddle literally on the floor.
Yeah.
Just sobbing and going, I can't take this anymore. And I felt that embrace again, and that you're going to be fine. And how about not asking what else can go wrong?
That sounds like a damn wise muse coming in there.
And I went, oh my God, it made me laugh. I was like, oh, but I got that epiphany at that time. And I said, you're right. Things got better after that.
Eureka. Good. And that was a turning point.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's at lots of times at our lowest, darkest times is when we hear the clearest.
Yes.
Because our ego is not protecting us anymore. Our reasoning is not protecting us anymore. Answers are not coming that way. At your bottom, you start looking for answers somewhere else. And that's when, for a lot of people, and you're describing it for you, the divine steps in.
Yeah.
Or it can. You can't.
Not that I haven't seen it at other times, but those two moments were really big, and the first one was a very gentle, loving, and the second one was too, and it was very similar, but it was a little bit of humor in there back. You might want to change your wording there. And I was like, oh, I hadn't thought about that.
Be careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Because
So
we're fifth dimensional, 12th dimensional creatures trying to live in a 3D world. So people that are plugged into elementals, like you are, especially, you can manifest like a mofo just by speaking it. And yeah, and that obviously that has good things and that has bad things, or tough things, not bad. That has good things and tough things attached to the fact you can manifest anything almost at will. Sidebar, everybody can do that. Elementals have help from the Fae, which Paul will talk about someday in the future.
yeah.
Tying that back in. He'll talk more about elementals. But that's part of manifesting that you've done a great job. I keep thinking we have one of our other cartoons would fit at this point. I'm not sure which one it is.
What about the pink one?
Yeah, go ahead and throw that one out there.
Oh, take it.
There's two of them. That's a good one.
Yeah. Remember that you're responsible for the effort, not the outcome. You are a vessel through which the intention of the universe flows. There's no way to know what is in store for this person. All you can do is help her to be the best she can be as it happens. And that, we were talking just before the show a little bit, and I said, people have to be careful about just throwing their hands up and going, well, I'm going to leave it up to God or whatever. And then you get around people who are going through very big issues or whatever. Yeah. And it's like leading a horse to water. You can't make him drink. You're not responsible for what other people feel, nor are other people responsible for what you feel.
Right. Or do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or not do.
Right. Yeah. And so you can't make people feel certain ways, and you can't make people do things. And that's something that's hard for a lot of people to realize, because they're so reactionary instead of being proactive.
Well, they're trained to be. We're trained as a society to be reactionary instead of proactionary.
Right. Yeah. But that statement there is kind of like, you're there for the person, and you're there to support and to love, not judge, not determine what they're supposed to do or right. Whatever. And so I think it was an interesting compliment to you don't just throw your hands up and go, well, like as a person who is suffering, and go, oh, I'm just going to leave it in God's hands. I mean, there's a time and a place to
do that,
to take your hands off of it, but you need to listen and recognize when steps are being handed to you to take to get you out of a situation. What's that? There was
Jesus take the wheel.
Yeah, well, there was a song, but there was like a joke or
sooner
something.
Or later you got to put your hands back on the wheel.
yeah. It was something about a man. Something happened to this man, and he was like, God, show me what to do. I need to make money. And somebody came and offered this guy a job, and he said, nah, I don't want to do that. I want to do something different. And then he and it was like one thing after another, and stuff would come before him. Yeah,
laid before him, and he turned him down for 3 different reasons. Yeah.
And then he's like, when he dies, and he goes, well, God, why didn't you help me when I asked you? I tried several times, and you kept ignoring me.
I did. Remember that. That was all God.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's a very good analogy, that story. That's perfect. I'm glad you thought of it. That's really cool. That is a very clear one.
So what about you? What was your
the situation that led me up to my pivotal moment. All right. It was 2009. I can remember that specifically.
Wow.
It's 2009. And I was working with a group, with a business that was a group of 4 or 5 people that were doing leadership development. And they brought me on last as the spiritual component of the group for, personal life coaching and business life coaching and business support and whatever, leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so that meant the leader of the group, a lady who was also an attorney, also PhDs and all this other cool stuff, very much into metaphysical, spiritual, psychosocial stuff.
Wow.
And metaphysical experimentation. She was also into that. And it was a lot of fun to be in that office because we would go in the conference room and do all kinds of weird stuff that she had learned lately or that we had thought of lately or whatever.
Wow.
And yeah, the purpose was to try it on each other and see if this is something we wanted to bring forward to her clients.
Can you give us an example? Because that sounds so.
I'm about to.
Okay.
I'm about to. So at this point that's an excellent question. At this point in the development, she was going through the efficacy of different meditations. We would answer questions afterwards. What did you get out of it? What did you see? What would you change? What would you do again? On and on and on and on. Feedback. And we would tweak it and try it again. And there were different kinds of meditations. In this one, I was the last person in the office. I was also the last one to leave. So I got in about 10 or 11, and they had been doing shit. They'd been doing cool stuff since about 8:30 or 9 that morning. So they were already into it an hour and a half. And they had already tried this particular meditation on 1 or 2. The boss, she doesn't know I'm talking about this, so I'm going to say a different name because I don't have her permission. Let's just call her Linda.
Okay.
That's just what pops in my head. So Linda had already led this. It's a one-on-one meditation, and I'll describe it. But it's a one-on-one guided meditation that she sits. You're sitting in 2 chairs facing each other, and she's guiding you through visualizations. And you're sitting in your chair with your eyes closed, listening, and mentally going through the steps that she's describing. Mm-hmm. And when you did the step that she asked you to, you would nod or raise a finger or whatever to indicate that you did that and have the experience. And then she would talk you back out of it. It was obviously, a little bit of, light level hypnosis in there too. And she would talk you back out of it. And then we would debrief and we would evaluate and we would feedback and all that other fun stuff. And we had been doing this for weeks, so we got to a level where we really, really trusted each other way on out there and obviously got, very deep in a hypnotic state quickly. Keep in mind, this was 3 women and a man. So you're talking about a whole lot and these 3 women were not ordinary women. I was one of them. They were very shamanic. And they were very profound and deep thinkers and spiritual in their non-traditional spiritual, although one of them was a very much practicing Christian, but she would go beyond that all the time. And so, and she understood more than what, she was, and they were also older, not extremely, but they were older than me. I was the youngest person. So the meditation was Linda was sitting in front of me and, take a deep breath, relax, inhale to a count of 10, exhale to a count of 10, get your focus really going internal. And we had done a similar meditation before, so I knew where she was going, so I thought. And the meditation was you relax, you imagine yourself in a field or a meadow. You walk out to the middle of the meadow. She describes the meadow. It's bright and sunny. It's beautiful. The temperature is just right. Golden grass and There's, creatures up in the, birds and squirrels floating all around, and you're completely relaxed. And I'm going to count backwards, like from 5 or 3 or whatever. And a person is going to come out from the trees and walk towards you in the meadow to talk to you. And they're going to walk towards you and stop. And you're going to have a conversation with that person. And I want you to ask them this question. And it was usually, something relative to what we wanted to know in the moment, such as what was the next client going to do, or where was the next big thing in the news going to happen? This was 2009. Or when was her grandmother going to do something, or when was my father going to do something? He was ill, or when is so going to get better? You could ask any question you want, or cosmically, where's the world going? Why are we here? You could even ask that. So, but remember, this was structured, so it was very intentional. So, but the only thing that wasn't intentional is who came out of those woods. All right, because we were also aware of, to an extent, you got to be in the flow and let the universe just bring it to you. We were also very aware of that jump off point could happen at any moment. So I go to work. They're already giggling and laughing over in the conference room. So I go over there, and they're like, "Oh, come here, sit down. Let's see who comes talk to you. You're a freak. All kinds of entities come and talk to you. Let's see who comes talk to you, because you got all kinds of weirdos and cool people cool entities coming to you." And I'm like, "All right, what? Sure, okay, sure." So I get in the chair. She talks me in. I'm in the meadow, and I'm nice and relaxed. And normally, from like the day before or whatever, I saw, a shadow of a person come out from the trees, and they get more and more defined and more definite until they're standing right in front of me, and it's a person, and I can talk to them, and they're more in focus, and then they walk away. Not this time. This time, a light came from behind the trees and went real fast. And there was nothing but light, and it was Jesus Christ. And the way we were doing these things, and I already know how to be under hypnosis and still talk. That's a skill that I learned, and it's not that hard, but I'd already learned how to do that in years past, and they knew it. And that's why they like doing stuff on me, because I could tell them what I was doing and still stay in it. So they said, and all right, allow, whoever needs to come through, allow them to come through. And Jesus went right up, like literally, how far were we? And he stayed back. He stayed back about 5-7 feet in human terms.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't come. He didn't try to touch me. If he had, I would have exploded. And he knew that. He came about 5, and I can tell you what he took on a humanoid form, a male with a beard and white and gold robes, about 6 feet tall, brown hair, dark skin. And he looked at me and he went, "Hi." And he, high pitched voice, he was being silly. He was like, "Remember me?"
Oh my God.
He was like, "Hey, honey." I mean, he literally, "Hi, honey." He spoke a word of endearment. I mean, "I know you. You can say something." "Hi, honey. Remember me?" And he tilted his head a little bit. "Hi, I'm here to freak you out." And I went, in the chair, you can't see my hands, but I was, my hands were on the chair arms, and they went like that. I could feel it. I gripped my chair, and I went like that. And Linda said, "Are you okay? Who is it? What, talk. Say it. And the other lady was there too, and she's like, "Margo, it's okay. Talk to us." And I was busy going, I was hyperventilating.
Oh my gosh.
And I was excited and I was happy. And I'm starting to feel it again. And I said, and that's all I could do. I could not say who it was. But in my experience in the moment, everything was Jesus right then. There was no Linda. There was no other lady. There was no Margo. There was no chairs, walls, ceilings, jobs, the earth. Everything was gone. There was a separate part of my brain, the 3D part, that was going to try to communicate, but it was useless. everything was about JC right there. Jesus Christ. I know him as JC.
Your buds, yeah.
We're thick from way back. Oh, we are. And everything was just JC, and he just sat there and went, "It's okay. Tell them when you feel like you can. You tell them that I'm here. Take your time." And to him, we could tell he was being very politely amused. And I asked him, "Are you used to this?" And he said, "Oh yeah, people freak out all the time on me. I'm used to it. So you take your time. It's okay. It's honest. I'm not judging." I was like, "You find this amusing, don't you?" And he went, So I started grinning. So it's a sense of humor helps ground me a little bit, which I'm sure is part of the aim. And I was like, okay, it's and just saying his name started the well up all over again. And I finally said, "It's Jesus." So this stupid little mousy voice. I was so my throat was clenched up. So I could only talk way up here because I was crying. My face was flooded. My shirt was covered in tears by then.
Wow.
Oh, it was. I mean, I just lost my shit completely. And I finally get, Jesus. That's all I can get out. And this, I have to describe my skill sets a little bit. I can separate my brain and look at stuff 3D and 5D. All right, it's part of the medicine that I do. And my 3D brain could see the other two ladies reacting in the room without it affecting me. I wasn't worried about them judging me. Right? And I saw them look at each other and go, what do we do with this? We've never had the top guy come in.
You don't do a damn thing with it. You let it be.
You just let it go. They're used to angels or spirit animal guides or Native Americans or something, or somebody's grandma or grandpa or dead husband coming through. They're used to that. Second in command was coming through for the first time, and I was like, and they knew that I was not a practicing Christian. Although I did have a relationship with Christ, I wasn't a practicing Christian in the social sense. And so that's all I could say. And they were like, "Okay, what else? When you're ready, what's he doing? What's he look like? What's he saying? Take your time." So I let go of the listening to them, and I went in there and just listened to Jesus for a while. And he said, "You just need to experience it, me, because if I say anything, you're going to just shit your pants." I was like, "You're right." He said, "All right, I'm just going to stand here and let you experience this, because right now you're needing to understand unconditional love. And that's all I'm going to throw at you right now is just unconditional love, because I love you so freaking much."
Aww.
And by the way, that's not the big enough word for it. Someday you will find a bigger word. I have not yet, but someday you'll find a bigger word. But right now I want you to experience how I feel about you. And this is how you can feel about other things if you choose to. And the light, remember there was all glowing light, it all amped up. It was like you could hear an electronic hum. He turned on the power. And the white light came at me. It was a glow. It was a wafting. It wasn't it was a glow. I could see light shining up from below. There was light shining upward as well, because he was omnisciently everywhere, all around me, behind me, under me, over me, in physical form, more or less, in front of me. And when they got super intense, and I started with started doing that, and he said, "You need to exhale more." Said, "Okay, whatever you say, boss, I'm on it." And so I was like, "Thank you." I could barely, I was in the chair. I mean, I was fighting to stay upright in the chair. I really, 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 with all of my heart and soul, wanted to go down to the floor to my knees in an egg-shaped ball, like the yoga position, the child position. Put my forehead on the floor, except for I didn't want to break eye contact with Jesus, but then again, I knew I'd see him anyway. But I really, 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 more than anything in the world, wanted to get down on the floor and just physically with my whole body demonstrate how grateful I felt, because there was not words for what the gratitude for what I was feeling. And people that know me personally know that I don't have self-esteem issues on the scale that the typical population does. Yeah, there's one or two things. Yeah, my husband could name shit. My best friends could name shit that they know that I'm insecure about. But it's nothing like intrinsic deep stuff. I'm totally okay with unconditional love, because that means I get to shoot it right back at you. That's why I like it so much. All right. It becomes circular, which is the nature of unconditional love. It's not a one-way flow at all. It's completely circular in 3D words. So I was wanting to show gratitude, but then my 3D brain kicked back in and said, if you slide to the floor, they're going to think you're having a stroke or a heart attack. Think about it from their perspective. If you're going,
Are you sure that was a 3D response and it wasn't like an implant from somebody else? Like Jesus is kind of going, no, you don't want to do that.
Here's some self-control. Try this. Well, that works. But if I had slid to the floor, whimpering and crying and dry heaving pretty much the way I was.
I said the EMT is coming in. What happened? She saw Jesus.
Next question would be, are you going to the light, sweetheart? In fact, I did. No light, stay here.
No intention to stay, just visiting.
No, we were just, me and JC were just sightseeing. Share a little love, share a little light. I realized that I would totally freak out those poor ladies if I went to the ground hyperventilating and crying and wheezing and coughing or whatever I was doing at the time. I mean, I looked like I was having a conniption. I really did. Later on, I said, thank you for not stopping me. And they were like, no, we knew you were fine. We were just making sure we were there in case you did fall out of the chair. And I was like, well, I wish I had known that, because I would have gone to the floor. But they knew not to interrupt. They picked up on that. And they let me stay in that space, which was like 5 times longer than we normally do. We intentionally timed it for how long you're talking to your person. We intentionally timed it for like 1 or 2 minutes max, so that we could get to the next one, because you could stay out there for 10, 20, 30 minutes if you wanted to. They instinctively let me stay out there for like 5, 6 minutes instead of the normal 30 seconds, 60 seconds. And they waited until my biorhythms slowed down, that I was crying less. And what had happened in the vision was Jesus was turning down the power, and it wasn't as bright. It was blinding before. Now it was just down to bright. And he said, you got it. And I was like, yeah. And that's where he said, now you need to do this to other people. Now that you got it, this is what I'm showing you what you need to do to other people. And I'm like, thank you for trusting me with this. This is awesome. What a cool message. And I'm like, wow, I don't know if I'm going to be able to translate this message, but this is cool. I get it. Woo! I was excited. And he just floated backwards into the trees and disappeared. And the light went with him, and the meadow came back up in view in the trees. And she said, Margo, I'm going to count you out now. And I'm like, do you have to? Because I was still on that euphoric high. I said, do you have to? And Linda giggled, and the other lady giggled, and they said, we think we should. we think we should. And they said, and they said, are you okay? And I was doing the only signal I could. Yes, I'm fine. I didn't have to say that. I could just go, are you okay? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And she counted me back, and I was sitting there with my eyes shut. And I was all the way back. And she said, are you back? I'm, mm-hmm. Had my eyes shut. And she said, do you want to talk? And I said, mm-mm. And she said, you don't have to. Just sit there.
Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh, no. Where did she go? In her excitement, she probably turned something off. So while I wait for her to come back, I'm watching, and I know she'll come right back. I want to mention, because we are getting to the close of the show, appreciate the people that have stayed with us, and I want to put out there. Oh, here she's back. Wait a minute. Where did you, oh, there you are. Wait a minute. There you go.
Here we are. Yay! An intervention or something. Technology. Bam. I put my hand on the computer. It was too close to the power button, and the whole system went boop and disappeared black.
Wow.
Went black. It didn't even go dear. It just went just black.
Yeah, watch it. You got weird. Power in your hands. I got the power.
I got the power.
That is Jesus. Incredible. Yeah. Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you, Jesus. And so when I could talk again, I told them that really was Jesus. What the hell did you do to me? And they laughed. They love that. So I put it on them. I said, what the hell did you do to me? And the other one said, I want to do that. And we tried to get her back in. We tried, and Jesus didn't talk to her the same way. It went on to
Jesus has left the building.
Yes, he has. We walked right across the river and out the door. And
it's not command performance. It's when he has time and
when it's apropos, when he feels one of his envoys can say it more clearly for your brain, that's who he's going to send instead. And in this case, relative to what you were saying, yeah, the love of Jesus is absolutely phenomenal and fantastic, but he's actually channeling the love of God. And in this case, yes, absolutely we are. And God just took the form that I could barely brain wrap, which was a 6-foot man in white and gold robes with a beard that I call JC. Yeah. That's the version of God that at that time I could brain wrap. And that shifted my consciousness and my awareness. I was floating around on that euphoria physically for about an hour, mentally for several more months. Spiritually, I'm still there. It's on those different levels. It's a different experience for me. And I can tap back into it at any time. Anytime I need a good cry.
Yeah. That's the cool thing is you can go right back there. And yeah.
Talk about it and it starts coming back at you. Right now, I am dying. It's hot as all get out in here. I'm sweating because of the chi, the energy that it's powering up big time. I'm sweating. Be a good time to do Reiki on somebody, including myself. Yeah. So I might use it for somebody. Yeah, which is everybody.
Yeah.
Send that out in the world. But that was my most intense. I've channeled Jesus for other people, but it wasn't for me. There goes my nose. It wasn't for me. And in those situations, it was a very different experience. That instance was directly at me, and wow. And like you hear the words, in your head, and they are English. It's kind of interesting that he speaks English. I'm sure he can speak any language, but it's not the same as your own thought processes, which is something you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the
It's
same
very
sound.
different.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very aware it's outside of you, but it's not a physical sonic vibration, coming in. It's not the same
Right.
thing. But you're aware it's not you. You're aware it's out there. And it's interesting because I listen to things outside of my own head all the time. And that was different, even from those experiences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you.
tripping down this lane with me.
Love it. Love it. And I hope that the other people with us enjoyed it as well. And we do need to close it out because we've been going for a while. And, oh yeah, we could go on for hours and whether people are listening or not.
Yes, we could. Yes, we could.
Being here.
Do you have the one more meme that has the cosmic swirl up the middle about third dimensional conscious, or how we can push each other up to the next level of consciousness? There's two of them, and that's one of them.
Okay, so I'll show
I like this. This will work. This will work. When people ask what I do for a living, I create ripples in the space-time continuum that alter future realities in the third dimension. And that is my occupation for a living.
Yes. And
Absolutely.
I don't know. The other one, I don't know if this was.
Oh, that's just a cool one.
Okay. I'll show while we're at it. Never hold back. Never hold back your spiritual badassery. You came here to unleash that shit.
Hey, there you go. Blessed be Sister Thomas.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
That's awesome.
All right. So, and I don't know if I've got the other one. I don't know if I brought it up. I don't think I did. I'm not seeing it. But
in rapid eyes, choose the golden age, choose your highest outcome, choose your future, choose where you're going to be, choose the golden age, choose love. Yeah. For all of your life. For all of your life. Absolutely. Be in charge. You're the king and queen of your universe.
That is, yes, very much. The other, I just want to mention, I know we've talked about this before. I am working on my book, and I'm almost done. It's almost ready to be public. I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks. So as that date gets closer, we'll talk about it. But it's a book. The official name of it now is The Care and Feeding of Ghosts and the Children That See Them. And it's a guidebook for anybody actually, but especially for parents that are struggling with their kids are not sleeping. They're claiming there's monsters under their bed and all that stuff. And Deborah mentioned up here. She said she's thanking us for sharing our spiritual journeys and very much enjoyed hearing both the stories. So thank you, Deborah, for sticking with us and listening. And anybody else, if you're there, just say something. But what I want to put out there is within the next week or two, we're going to do a show on
ghost stories.
And so if you have a ghost story that you want to share, type it up or, message it to us either on Facebook or you can email me, iris@iriscarter.com.
Put up that banner.
Yeah. I can't do both at the same time. I like that. And or you can but it's my name. I tell you what, I'll put my name up here. How about that?
Yep. Iris at Iris.
Yeah, so it's iriscarter.com. There's no extra dots in there other than the .com. And it's iris at iriscarter.com. So very simple email. Or you can message us at facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo and just use the messaging there and send us your ghost story. And we'll come through, depending on how many we get, we'll share what we can. And so we're going to build a show around those stories. And or if you have questions about, hey, this happened and what do you think? We're happy to give you our opinion,
Yeah, we're more than happy to read into that situation and tell you what bubbles out of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Past, present, future time means nothing on the other side.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if it happened 50, 60, 100 years ago, happened to your grandma when she was a child, doesn't matter. Happened yesterday, doesn't matter. Bring it.
Yes. And so if you send it in advance, we'll be able to share that, and we want to do that. So again,
and you can be anonymous if you want. That's okay.
Just tell us to make you anonymous. Just say
yes.
that. Yeah. Please keep this anonymous. Here's my story.
There you go.
The names have been changed to protect the innocent. Don't. So anyway, and I think that's all we had for right now.
I think that's it for now. We'll probably put out that ghost story invitation again next week. Give more people a chance. Maybe we'll say it at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I'll put something out on Facebook too about it. So
cool. Yes. Excellent choice. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. We love you. Namaste.
Bye.
Keep spreading the love. Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining the Eyes of Indigo with Iris Carter and Margo Ross Sears. Music is Arcadia by Kevin MacLeod of Incomptech.com, licensed under Creative Commons. Visit our Facebook page for broadcast details, www.facebook.com/Eyes of Indigo. Show is copyrighted 2021 by Iris Carter.